Hey team, welcome to Benchmarked. Coach Messier along with Coach LaRock. Today we are talking about accountability. My notes look like a war zone right now, man. It is incredible. This is a big topic as it is really the glue that holds success together in so many ways for you personally, but you as an organization and as a team. Can you hold yourself to be accountable, and can you hold others accountable in a way that will make them want to continue performing at their best for your team and your organization? And I think, Jean-Gilles, like, it's just something that, like, as soon as we started talking about doing the podcast, accountability was always in the back of my mind. And if we had 3 A's, accountability would be one of them. But I also think it's also woven into a lot of the other stuff that we've talked about. But I think on its own, it's something that people overlook so much, and they try to put their finger on it, but they can't. Like, what is it, right?
You're talking about if we would have had A's, and I'm starting to think about the alphabet. And when we write our book, that's what we're going to do, man. We're going to go like A is this, B is that, C, but that's a lot going on. We want to stick to this standard of 9, but accountability is at the top. And it's funny you say that. I'm currently reading Brene Brown's book. Oh man, the name slips me. I just look at the cover once in a while, so I'm 2 in the book. But she talked. The number one thing is accountability. Literally in her list, literally is accountability. And Brene, I'm sure you're listening to our show right now. I did get your email saying you're not taking other guests on right now, or you can't come on other shows, and we appreciate you taking the time to answer us.
Love it. I love it. And it with the accountability stuff, I always say, ask yourself, what do I have to do? And let's talk about self-accountability here. Ask yourself, what do I have to do now to live a productive life as an individual and as part of a collective, right? Like, am I doing my part? And people, again, terms that we've used in shows before: self-honesty, self-responsibility, extreme ownership. These are things that are like, am I doing what I need to do to be the best version of myself for everybody else around me? Right.
And it's not easy. Like for me personally, I'm using Way of Life app and now Habitshare. Do you think I felt like doing my push-ups last night after, like, just,
I saw that you did it. You checked in, man.
I did. But like, it's getting closer to midnight, just gas from the day. Life is happening. And then for me, if I don't do it, basically, if I told myself, hey, this is what you need to do, and I don't do it, like I feel terrible. Like I feel like hungover the next day, basically, like, man, I didn't get it. And I get, and for our listeners at the same time, and this is just how I feel personally, it's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Okay. So I'm like, if I wouldn't have hammered out those push-ups yesterday, is it the end of the world? No. Am I conscious of it? Yes. And I need to move on, because accountability at the same time it's not about being perfect. That's just me being hard on myself. I'm just speaking for personal experience, but I've had days, man, where maybe I didn't do them for a day. Maybe I didn't for 2 days. But for me, the difference is, how long are you going to stay in the pity party? How long are you going to have this party for? A day, 2 days, 3 days? Then you're going to get back on the accountability train. So I think that's more important sometimes, because I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to fall off, and that's 100% normal.
Let's start off then. Like, since you're talking about Habitshare and optimize, one of the things that I think we should start off, and I know we said this way back in an earlier show, having an accountability partner is huge. And if you don't have anybody, use the mirror, the accountability mirror, which we described in a previous show. But so, for example, JG and I are accountability partners. We share the Habitshare app, and we have simple things on there: strength training, call mom, cardio, stretching, push-ups, reading, make your bed. These are all things that are on this app that allows me to keep tracks. Well, not that I'm like, hey, I bust your chops a little bit, you bust my chops. Hey, you haven't called your mom yet this week, give her a call.
I did.
And I appreciate that. But like you say, if you don't do it, you kind of feel like you're hungover. You feel like there's this cloud over top of you, and it's not good. But what if somebody, you work with some, so let's say this is great. You and I, we're into it, right? So let's just say you don't have that. And I always say the accountability mirror or the accountability wall is amazing, because what you do is you take sticky notes and you put them up on the wall, or the mirror. The mirror, I like the mirror idea because you're facing yourself. And if you are in a situation where you're flying solo, the mirror, it's you against you. And then again, I said this for a lot of different things. And our show Effort dropped a couple of weeks ago. I talked about it's you against you. You're putting on your own best foot forward on this. So if you're flying solo, you write stuff on the mirror. Get some lipstick or something like that and write stuff on the mirror, or soap or whatever it is. But leave yourself these notes that hold you accountable to all the tasks that you identify are essential for you to be productive, for you to be better, right? Better today than yesterday, better tomorrow than today.
Mark is wife's going to be rattled with the lipstick, 2 bar soap. So as you can tell, our podcast isn't doing very well right now. I splurged and I bought a dry erase marker, people. Those are things, dry erase markers. This guy's using soap in his wife's lipstick. So please donate. We have a GoFundMe page for Benchmark.
I promise I won't give it to the truckers.
Oh my God. So, anyway, I have a dry, and it's funny on my mirror right now. You know what's
funny? It's funny that you say that, because I don't have any dry. I have a big whiteboard in our weight room here at home.
So what do you use?
I have one dry erase marker that I've been using for a couple of years. And
you're probably licking it to make sure there's any left on it.
You know what you do? I'm going to give you a life hack. And I saw this, one of the teachers at school taught me this. You take a string and you tie it to the dry erase marker so that the tip is away, and you swing it around and it forces all the ink to the end. Is that science or what?
I like it a lot. Yeah. I like it. Jim Carrey, thank you. I like it a lot. Good one. I'm going to use that one.
You're going to know, I'm going to end up like, I'm sure we have some nice listeners that I'm going to have packages of dry erase markers show up at my front door here.
Oh man. So if you look at my mirror now, I literally have a weight I'm trying to achieve, and I have the date for our book. I literally have the date that I want us to finish our book written on my accountability mirror. So I'm brushing my teeth 2-3 times a day, looking at it, combing my hair in the morning, looking at it, polishing. It's there. Literally, it's in my face consistently. Right. So I picked that up pretty much about you, because I use accountability in a different way. And then you introduced the sticky notes, and I remember you talked about that. I was like, man, that's a great idea. So I started buying into that part, but that's a great example to be able to use is on the mirror, because literally you see that on a consistent basis.
And you have to talk to people too, because before we started the podcast, the idea of really producing a book and writing a book, we said it. We were saying it to people, important people in our lives, and they might've been like, these 2 jokers, they're never going to get through with this. Right. And I thought, you know what, we're going to do this. And it's part of the idea of proving people wrong. If you just keep it within yourself, it's vaulted. Or I think if you put it out there, it makes you more accountable that you're actually going to get to doing it. Right.
I just heard you say this now, and we'll have this conversation. Obviously, this isn't we're going to have a courageous conversation for a second. I've heard that. I even heard that during the Super Bowl. I've heard that. I don't know how many times are people they kept saying, I'm trying to prove people wrong. Like, I'm listening to those commercials for the Olympics, and people said I wouldn't make it. I honestly would like to flip the script on that. Instead of saying, I'm trying to prove people wrong, how about you prove yourself right? How about you prove yourself right instead? And becomes about you, not necessarily what the white noise could be on the outside. Prove yourself right. I get it. Trust me. I've used it. I do it. I'm trying to flip the script in my brain. Because if I just trying to prove everything to everybody else, I need to be accountable to myself, not everybody else. Like, in a leadership role, you need to be accountable to others. So that might be a different. Anyways, I'm just trying to bring a different angle to that one.
Totally agree. And speaking of the Super Bowl, you and I talked about this. I'm a football coach. I like football. I love football. I love coaching football. I love watching football. It's a great thing. However, part of my accountability, that's 3 hours. If you're watching the pregame and all that stuff, it's a 3-hour event. If you are sitting on your ass for 3 hours watching ultra fit people run around and you're not doing anything for yourself other than just watching that 3 hours, you're not being accountable. You're not being true to yourself. If you just want to sit there with a pile of beers and a pile of corn chips and hot dogs and wings, and that's your thing, no disrespect to you, but are you maybe this is your thing. Maybe during commercials, you rip off 20, 25 push-ups. You hold a plank for, you do little steps along the way. Every first down, I got to do 20 jumping jacks or something like that. Right. So to me, like watching TV, not doing something, like I might be watching TV with a laptop and doing some stuff. Now, there are some times where I'm dialed in, we're having family movie night. I'm dialed into it. Just to watch TV is not something I do anymore. It's been a few years now that I was like, I can't sit there for that long to do it. I'm stretching, like I don't sit on the couch. I'll be stretching the hammies. People complain all the time that they're tight. Well, if you're sitting for long periods of time, you're not doing yourself any favors. So are you accountable to yourself? So back to what you were saying, you have to be accountable for yourself first. Okay. This is where you'll be a better coach. You'll be a better father. You'll be a better brother, sister, aunt, uncle, whatever it may be. If you are accountable to taking some self-care of yourself first. They know here, if I go an extended period of time for me, I love mountain biking out in the woods, hiking in the forest. I need to be outside. I need to be out of doors. Mm-hmm. It's refreshing. It's cleansing. It's amazing. If I don't do that, I'm a different person at home. Yeah. I'm a different person at work. I'm better for everybody else if I'm taking care of myself. You must be the same.
Yeah. And you and I had shared that before, the example for the Super Bowl. We're using a Super Bowl. It's not, hey, don't watch a Super Bowl. We just talked about this. I don't know how many years back. I was sharing a story with Mess. I was watching, college football game. I don't know what it was. And I was sitting there watching it and it hit me. I'm like, what am I doing watching them compete? I want somebody to watch me compete. And if I want somebody to watch me compete on some stage, I got to get after it. I can't be watching people compete. Yeah. So then it turned to, stuff during commercials, for some of the athletes we work with, a tennis ball we talked about. Remember back in the day, the squishies for your forearms, do it during the commercial break, anything, watch it on your laptop while you're on the treadmill, on the elliptical. There's just a bunch of other options. And it goes back to the story you shared. And I always love that story where the student athlete had talked to you about, let's go run the hill instead of going to a grad party or whatever it was. Yeah. That is gold because why do people, I've asked some people who it's called sweat before screen. So before you look at your phone every morning to see what's going on in the world, take care of yourself first of all. So sweat before screen. But when you talk to a lot of people who get after it in the morning before even the sun rises, they're going for a run in the street or in the bush or whatever they're doing. And you talk to them, they love when they're alone out there. It's just them and the street lights are that calm. So when you think about we use the example of Super Bowl, how many people are not doing something like that because they're caught on television? So it's almost you're taking advantage of an opportunity where the world is almost on pause and you're getting better. That's kind of a little bit of the mindset anyway.
Love it. Love
is a big word today. Happy Valentine's Day.
Along those lines, if I don't hold myself accountable, I feel like I lose the right to hold other people accountable. Yeah. I can't say they're JG, come on, you and your push-ups. And I'm sitting here eating a bowl of whatever, something unhealthy. I was in the locker room getting them done because it just became a habit. I can share some weird stories where I did push-ups because it was just I got to get this done and the time is ticking. Yeah. And somebody walked in, I was doing my push-ups and well, how come you're not doing it this way or that way? And I bit my tongue and I'm sitting there. You have no idea. No idea. But that's the thing, man. That's the thing about everything around you. Nobody has a clue what you're dealing with, what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to do. And everyone will be a critic. And this person wasn't saying it to be mean or anything like that, but that's exactly what's happening. When you're holding yourself at a certain standard or accountable, it's just going to come that or stuff. And you got to wash that out. You got to just block it out, box it out. If you're a basketball player, noise, that's just noise, right? Yeah. People are talking and doing whatever, but go back to the Super Bowl. People are well, that's not cool. I'm not trying to be cool. I'm trying to be better. It's not cool to be a loser, right? These are things that are shocker. Here's a shocking statement I'm going to make. It's controllable, right? Yeah. Accountability is a controllable. You are in control of what you do, right? And if you make a mistake, what was it? Jason Kuhn. We were on a call with Navy SEAL. It says you have absolute control over what you do next. So great. This past Super Bowl, you didn't do push-ups at halftime or in between plays. You got the next one. Right? And you're gonna rethink about this. And it's not about again, like, we're not trying to be cool. We're trying to be better, right? Better today than yesterday, better tomorrow than today. Love it.
The mentality I take a little bit with this too is, I lose my thought with this one sometimes. When there's a fire, you pull the fire alarm. Is it that simple?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to make this more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
You want to be the fire alarm for people. Just let that sink in. When utter chaos is happening, the building is burning, things are going crazy, you want to be the fire alarm for everybody else, because you're going to be cool, calm. You've kept yourself in the right frame of mind. You're not running around like, what's going on? Where should I be? What should I do? For me anyways, from a leadership perspective, you want to be that person. Like, take a deep breath, calm. Here's the exits. This is where you should do. Not saying I have it perfect either, but that's what for me personally, that's what I'm trying to build to be the fire alarm.
Yeah. And it was an interesting, somebody asked me the other day a question, and they're like in their mid-20s. And they said, I'm thinking about moving. Like, I'm just thinking about moving away, starting over, all that stuff. What should I do? And I was like, well, what are you trying to accomplish? Right. So they said, well, I want to start a new life. I want to get a new job. I want to do this stuff. I want to work remotely. I want to be there. But I'm worried about what my family's going to think. And I was like, well, in terms of like family, are you talking about like your wife and kids? Are you talking about like your cousin? Are you talking about like your mom and dad? What's going on? He's like, well, yeah, I'm kind of worried about what my extended family might think if I leave the area.
The nest.
I was like, dude, like, get out. Like, as long as your inner circle, which to me is like, yeah, the important, everybody's important, but the inner circle of, as long as I'm responsible for what I'm doing to my wife and my kids, and I could still do that, like, go do your thing. It's your life. You got to live your life. You got to do your thing, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be accountable to yourself. 20 years down the road, are you going to sit there and say, man, I had an opportunity and I didn't do it because I needed to be, close? They're courageous conversations that people have to have with themselves, right?
I've had that with athletes. Like, do you want to be the guy or the girl in the bar saying how you coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? And as you're drinking your third pitcher of beer, or do you want to be like, hey man, I gave this a shot. It happened. It didn't happen. That is what it is. But that's you're drinking some bitter beer if that's the situation you're in. You're living with regret. We're all living with regret. I have some. Don't get me wrong. But that's the thing. You just move on.
Yeah. So to me, it's like, it starts with you. You have to, no matter what. Nobody's going to tell you that everybody else is more important than you. You are the most important person that hold accountable. Then you work outwards. And then as that circle expands, you have far more clout, control, abilities if you hold yourself accountable to yourself, then your wife, your kids, your significant other. And then now you're looking at your team. I'm a coach and I've got everything else, let's say handled. And now you're working on your team. And now let's shift gears a little bit and say, how do I hold somebody else accountable? How do I hold a player accountable? How do I hold a student accountable? How do I hold my kids accountable? How do you teach that? How do you get that for somebody who's, first of all, what does it mean, right? Am I missing practices? Am I late for class with no repercussion? To me, let's define what accountability means first, right? But maybe we should have started with that, AG.
I know, but it doesn't have like a dictionary necessarily definition, because I personally think it's going to be different for others. We're going to have a general theme. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I want to go back, because you built this up, and I apologize, we're not going to go back to that right now, but you built this up. Back to the accountability piece. Like, how would I explain that? When you said at the beginning to be at the core and you got to take care of yourself, for some listeners, because I hear it sometimes too, and it sounds selfish. It might sound selfish. And I'm going to take this approach to this, because I've been in that situation where I was getting ready for that marathon I had talked about. I'm getting ready for the marathon. I'm downstairs. And this is the day I'm trying to stretch myself out before I'm leaving for Arizona to run my marathon. And I'm going, like, we had a family function where I think we were going to the movies as a family, and we had this plan for a while. And we're supposed to leave at example 2:00. It was a matinee because it's cheaper. And we put our accountability with soap on the mirrors.
Teachers are tighter than tree bark when it comes to money.
So, man, this was such a serious story.
I'm sorry.
No. I went with the soap thing. So it's getting close to 2:00. We're supposed to leave. And my wife comes in and she says, "Are you ready to go?" And I still had, I don't know, probably 5 miles to go. So it was going to be over the time. And my competitiveness wanted to tell my wife, "Tough, wait till I'm done and we're good to go." And then it sank in. I'm like, this is my family. This is time we're spending together. This is being selfish of like taking my time for them. So I shut down the treadmill. As hard as that was for me, it sounds weird to people maybe, but that was hard for me to do because I'm trying to ramp up. I'm competitive, blah, blah, blah. So I shut her down. But then now that I think, and we're having this conversation today, I should have did a better job with time management. I should have knew when we were leaving, approximately what it should have took me for time. Because it sounds selfish, like you need to take care of yourself. Yes, but take care of yourself when others don't need you. Oh, that's deep. I just made that up. Take care of yourself when others don't need you. And that's going to be the sacrifice sometimes early in the morning when people are sleeping or they're gone or whatever it is. But be selfish, but be selfish in a constructive way. I don't know if I'm even explaining that right.
I totally get it. Like, and that way you get that freedom, that early morning, you have that free, it just works that way. Or when kids are in bed later on.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you and I we record before everybody's up or after everybody goes to bed. Most of our shows, that's the way we do it because.
And it's funny. I still talk to some of my college, either coaches but people are in baseball. I'm sure it's the same in every sport. And you can get any collegiate baseball coach or any hardcore baseball coach, 11:00 midnight, guarantee you text them. They're going to answer you. It's crazy. And, I've sent emails. I had a good friend of mine say, send, the coach for Vanderbilt, God, baseball, it's slipping my mind right now. Tim Corbin.
Okay.
Amazing. Vanderbilt's College World Series. They're studs. He says, watch. He goes, I guarantee you send him a message. Guarantee he emails you back by like 4:30 in the morning. Whatever. God's honest truth. Next day, I was like 4:37 emails back. Yeah. Like, I think he's one of those, like, he just gets it done. And like his inbox must be zero because he literally takes care of business for himself and everything else. And then that's unreal.
Oh, unbelievable. My God. Speaking of inboxes, one of my dear friends, and he's going to listen to this and he's going to laugh because for the last 5 or 6 years, he's got this inbox. I don't know how it works, man. Like I see one little, like 1 or 2 on my inbox. I got to respond. Like I try to be quick. So
how do you handle that as an AD though? Because you get tons and tons of stuff as an filter. AD. Like I was going crazy. I
filter some stuff. What responds now, respond later, or draft, need to meditate on it.
I remember first couple of years as AD, I had you name me a company was trying to sell something. I had stacks of their books. I had like everything because I felt like I had to do everything. I did. Yeah. I'm like, I got to get back to these guys. But it didn't, like you said, it didn't probably, I don't know. You tell me how you played that out. Is it different when you like Mark 1.0 AD?
Oh, huge. Some people, I don't even like, I hate to say it, but dusters on the shelf, not going to like, forget it. So you learn how to slice up your time to who you're going to slice up your time to. For us vendors and stuff like that, I know who I trust and, people that I just stop responding. If it's a vendor that I want, like you get so many of those that I put it as spam. It just goes to spam. But back to my buddy, he runs a food company here in town, like a produce company, and he's got like 10,000 unread emails. 10,000. That's the number on his phone. And I had to, we were camping at the cottage last summer and I was like, dude, I'm going to take a half a day and I'm clearing your emails. He's like, no, it's okay. I'm like, I'm sweating. I'm thinking, I want to cry, but it's amazing how I was like, and his wife just laughs like, oh my God, one of these days I'm just going to go and answer all these emails for him and kind of be his secretary. But it's one of those things you got to know how to slice up your time. And for some people it's to the hour, for some people it's to the minute.
Yeah.
Right. It really depends. So here's what it is now. You've held yourself accountable and now you're looking at your team and your players. And again, I love how you said it. There's no hard and fast definition, but let's start with one. being a good teammate, right? Because we know, we've said this, and it bugs me to no end when people are not good teammates to each other. That is probably my biggest annoyance as a coach. I think it's the biggest roadblock for me as a coach to try to get over and try to work on. Like, forget about playing man-to-man or zone defense. If I don't get along with you or am I not accountable for you, it's not going to work fundamentally. I don't have to love you. Mm-hmm. There's the word again, but I don't have to be, but we have to be accountable to each other when we arrive. And it's every sport. I'm like the Canadian women's Olympic hockey team, the camaraderie on that team, watching them kind of go through this. We interviewed Emma. We're going to have her back on the show to have a debrief about the Olympics, but each one of those players, they talked about it. They had a role, they played their role, they knew what their role was, and they accepted their roles. And I think playing for one another, again, service over status. That's one of our taglines. Do never forget it. Service over status. And then, are you playing against each other, with each other, or for each other? Identify that. Because if you're not accountable to being a good teammate, the little things, I'll give you one. And this is a non-starter for me as a hockey coach or a lacrosse coach. If you're changing, and I'll say, actually, you know what? Baseball as well. Line change on a hockey player and they start coasting before they come up. You sprint to the bench so the next person can come off. Because if you're half-assing it back to the bench on a line change, okay, so coaches, watch this. And if this isn't important to you, I'm not sure I can respect you as a hockey coach. I'm fired up this morning. So if this kid is coming to the bench at a quarter speed, half speed, without hustle, is basically sending a message to the person that's replacing them that their time on the ice is not important. Lacrosse, we do line change. You got to come. There's a change zone in field. I'm talking field lacrosse. You have to come into a box. That's where you change. Somebody is waiting for you to get off the field so that they can go on and play. Right? I hate seeing players walk off a baseball field. I hate seeing football players walk off a football field. You should be hustling everywhere. Show a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit of pep in your step, a little of idea of like, hey, I have somewhere to go. I got to be there. I don't know. I'm sorry, but it's really important to me. These are the little things that add up to a huge thing. I was watching an NCAA Division I men's game the other night, Dartmouth against Yale. Third period, 1-0 game. Okay. Reed Cashman's the head coach of the Dartmouth men's hockey team. A player, and it was interesting because we were talking about this, like my daughter and I, because I say, like, if this is the one, it's a controllable, get off the ice. Like, you're tired, get off. You're going hard, and all of a sudden you're going to cruise it on the ice like it's Sunday skate. A player, it was the long change, was on the far side, and he started coasting kind of like through the center circle, like face-off circle. This is like maybe 3 minutes left in the third period in a 1-0 game. And it was a long change for him. And the coach I saw, he kind of indicated to him that he was disappointed that he didn't hustle on the ice, because for maybe a second or a second and a half or 2 seconds, they were playing with 4 guys on the ice. Right. So this is so important. This is something that's like, I am sending a bad message to my teammates and my team if I'm not hustling, if I'm not showing up on time for practices or meetings or whatever, right? Accountability. I don't know. Like, if you want to define it, everybody can define it how they want to define it. Like, you're going to make mistakes on plays. That's not, to me, that's not accountability. Like, you blow assignments, that's a mistake. But if you can control the controllable, you're going to have success as a team.
Good teams are, the coaches hold them accountable. For good teams, coaches hold them accountable. Great teams, players hold each other accountable. That is the game changer difference. That's what we talk about often about coach led or, player led. You want to be clear. You don't want to be coach fed, man. You want to be player led, not coach fed. You want to be player led. And I think that's a big piece of the puzzle. Like you're saying, I didn't even think about it. Now that I think back, you were talking about hockey and coming off, and you and I had coached together this fall, and we had a player we had to pull to the side and kind of have that conversation. And I remember you telling me about this player, and I was just saying, hey man, this kid works his butt off and so on, go, just weight room and hitting and running and does it all. And then he has a bad day, pops up to the outfield and jogging to first base. And we both kind of looked at each other right away. Like, that's not going to fly. That is definitely not going to fly.
But teach them young.
But that's the thing. It wasn't like you were yelling at him and we belittled him in front of everyone. It was a conversation, like, what would you say again? You said, praise in public and then
praise in public and like discipline in private.
Yeah. So we just kind of had that conversation basically in a controlled setting saying, hey, if someone was to watch the game today and they were driving their vehicle, driving back, and if they remember, what do you think they would remember about you? I said, I don't remember how many hits you had. I remember that last play, how you jogged over to first base. Yeah. So that again is us holding them accountable. But if I'm a teammate in that situation playing, I'm having that conversation with my teammate.
I always like to say, hey, this is how we do things here. That's something when new players join teams and you get the veteran players to say, hey, this is how we like to do things here. That's part of the culture, right? You look like you're fired up to say something.
Well, I'm going to share a story.
It's story time.
I was at school, man. I haven't said this story in public. I don't even know if I want to say it. I'll say it. I'll just leave out some parts.
Okay.
So I'm at school. I won't name the school right now. And we had a transfer player from a bigger school. Let's just leave it at that, a bigger school. And I think he thought he was just going to come and we were beneath him basically. And we're running a drill. Coaches had a meeting with us, literally third base side. This is how we do things. This is how we're going to do it. So now we're jogging back to go throw down the right field line. And I kind of hear him, I don't know if it's bashing the program or just wasn't pulling on the same rope. Let's just leave it at that. And I addressed it with him. And I remember our head coach at the time saying, if you ever have an issue with somebody, you go to the back of the dugout and you deal with it there. That's how we used to do back in the day. I'm like, all right. And I would have got tuned. Just for the record, I would have got tuned up. Okay, I'm not even going to lie. And I'm going to play tough here. I would have got tuned up. And I just said, hey, man, this is how we do things here. And like, we're going to have to settle this. So we're walking to the back of the dugout. And then I am facing the street, let's say, and he's facing the field, and I could just kind of see something in his face. I'm like, oh man, this is the last time I'm going to see this face intact for myself. And then I could just see something in his face, and I turn around. All of my teammates were behind me. Every single one of my teammates were behind me. And that's when it clicked that nobody is bigger than the team. No one is bigger than the program. And it doesn't matter how tough you are because you don't do anything as an individual. You do it as a team. And you can say, oh, I figure skate. No, you have a coach. You have a support network around you. And one of the best commercials I've ever seen was when Team Canada men's hockey, when they had Taves for Team Canada for Canadian Tire. And it just kind of like, it's all the people that have supported him specifically through his, like he didn't do it by himself. It's literally, it could be the guy who changed your tires to make sure you can get to where you're going because you have winter tires. Like, you know where this is going anyway. That's what it takes. It's not about you. It's literally not about you.
You were the fire alarm in that situation, right? you were the fire alarm. And good. That's courage. That's courage. Now, you just brought something else up, and I don't know if I want to go down this rabbit hole as teachers, but I'm going to lodge a complaint, a formal complaint. Parenting has changed a lot. I'm going to blame the parent. I remember that we say this, the player is not the problem. The problem is the problem. Yes. So if you have a kid, okay, I'm going to say that again. The player is not the problem. The problem is the problem. So if you have a kid who is bigger than the program, if you have a kid that is not showing up on time, like you coach a lot of age groups right now, they're getting rides from parents, right? If you can't get your kid there on time, get somebody else to drive them. If you can't get there, get them in a cab, get them to there. That you've made a commitment. You're accountable, be there, right? So I look at now when you turn a certain age, you know, that flows down to the athlete, the person. But I first look at the parents and what they're doing for the kid. Are they too scared? And this is what it is. Or are they not skilled enough as parents to hold their kids accountable? Right? We're seeing it in school. There's a bunch of teachers out there right now throwing their arms up saying, yeah. And there's a bunch of parents who are saying, no, I love my little Johnny, you know, or my little Susie. That's not the point. Are you snow plowing? Are you a snowplow parent, which is far worse than a helicopter parent? At least a helicopter parent, they're just surveying from a distance. But the snowplow parent, now for our friends in the Southern United States,
I was just about to say, how are you going to twist this?
The lawnmower, we'll call them the lawnmower parents. I don't know, something like that. But you're cutting the grass for the kid. You're doing it. They're not learning that idea of accountability. You said it earlier too, like perfect is fake. You say you can't be perfect. You need to be present. Mm-hmm. To me, perfect is fake. But the idea is kids, you know, like you're going to fail. But you need to learn, like, okay, if I do this, so this is where blame, complain, defend comes into play, as well as ERO, event, response, outcome, right? So are you taking responsibility for your actions, or are you going to continue to blame others for the situation that you're in? It's all part of accountability.
I catch myself in, usually it's grade 9 when you're teaching grade 9 for me anyways, where it's like, you go into that class for me anyways, whatever grade 9 class is, whatever subject it is, it's like, sometimes I take a deep breath, open the door and go. Cause you know, it's setting the tone for the next 4 years is what you're doing basically. Right. So you're almost like, you just almost gave birth to these grade 9s and you're like, this is how it's going to roll in this school for the next 4 years. And by the time you get to grade 12, that's why, you know, for the most part, teachers like, for the most part, I'm assuming, teaching grade 12s because they've been through the system. They know the routine. So if they're not into the routine by grade 12, they're just not ever going to be into the routine. So you're kind of setting the tone in grade 9 or freshman year for our south of the border listeners. I went through this incident just recently. I'm talking to a student, just kind of like I'm talking to you, and a student was coming in from the restroom, and I don't know, restroom, washroom. We'll figure that part out for our other listeners. Yeah. So instead of cutting across the conversation, the student stops while we're having a conversation. The student and I, like, it's a class discussion, but I'm giving you, we're speaking about something irrelevant to class. Student waits, conversation's over, and the student walks through. I'm like, pause for the whole class. It's like, that is amazing. Yeah. And the student didn't even know they did. I said, what's so amazing? She waited until the conversation, she could have easily cut across. Don't care. This has nothing to do with me. She paused, waited till the conversation was finished to respect. I don't know if she realized it, but she respected there was somebody else talking and then continued walking. 10 minutes later, total opposite. I'm having a conversation with you and somebody's trying to ask you a question while I'm talking to you. So then I have to address that type of stuff. And I said, this isn't about math, religion, history, science. This is about how to be a person, a human being. Oh, right. That's what it's about at the end of the day, not just necessarily the subject. Like, this is life 101. I guess some of you guys need some of it.
I'll tell you, there's a young man that I can remember, and it's funny because I'm sure, like you, I get asked to write a lot of reference letters for kids, and I have no problem saying no. And I think people now know where they stand with me, if they'll get a reference letter or not. And that's a funny story about the reference. I think I don't know if I told the story about the Nike outlet that a kid falsified a reference letter from me. I'll have to come back to that one.
Okay.
But this person would look you in the young person. This is something that, again, parents, don't give me this. My kid's got this and my kid's got. Teach your kid to look an adult in the eye and say hello. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, how many times the kids they're shy and they hide behind the parents. Like, I used to take my kids, like, you're going to say hi to Jean-Gilles. You're going to say hi to, if somebody says hi to you, if I'm there, it's like, okay, stranger danger, all that stuff. We don't talk to strangers, but teach your kid at a young age to look somebody in the eye and say, hello, how are you?
Order at a restaurant, have your kid order if you go to a restaurant, have the kid order for themselves. That's like a baby step, but I think that's to an adult or an adult figure. It's the same concept we were talking about.
I'm probably contradicting 1,000 parenting books here, but I'm calling bullshit on real life stuff. I'm calling bullshit. Be like, let them be themselves. Let the kid, if they're shy, no. If you're going to be functioning, you cannot hide I'm not hiding behind my mom's leg at 48 years old. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting there. I actually have to interact with human beings. So at a young age, teach people to say hello to people. I think that's just a basic look somebody in the eyes. So I had a kid ask me for a reference letter. I was like, man, I'm sorry, but I can't really give you a reference letter. And he's like, why not? I was like, because you don't make eye contact. You don't shake hands. It's just one of these things. Like there's no, that's just I don't know you. There's no depth there. Like you have to be okay. To me, that's accountable. I can't put my name behind that. For what it was doing, it wasn't going to be somebody public. He was going to be interacting with the public for this job. I was like,
it's almost, you want to ask, what do you think the letter's going to sound like? What do you think it would sound like or look like?
Yeah. And I will write that in a reference letter for somebody. I had a young lady that I wrote a reference letter for a couple of years ago. It was for a scholarship. This was probably one of the most personable people I've ever known. And it was, she'd thank me after every single class. It's like, you don't have to thank me for this class. This is my job. I get paid to do this. But she's like, no, just thank you. You're here. And I was like, she made me feel like she was one of those people that at the age of 17, I was like, I want to be like her. Like she was just she brought that energy into the room every day. She would say hi to people. I remember seeing her in the hallway, and I wrote this in a reference letter. There was a kid sitting at her locker eating lunch by herself. And she's like, hey, how are you? I like your shoes. Or it was just an interaction and then kept going on about a day. She didn't have to do that. Probably 8 out of 10 kids don't do that. So parents, I'm telling you right now, if you got young kids, put them in a situation where they can at least acknowledge, not saying they have to have a 30-minute conversation with an adult, but at least acknowledge and say hello, make eye contact. It's a simple skill of humanity. Don't give me any of this crap about the feelings and sensitivity. Sorry.
No, I'm just going to
let the responses come in.
Let's pause for a second for identification. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, good. I want to go back to the part you're talking about the 17-year-old and you're saying, man, I wish I could be a person like that. I talk to students or people in general, you don't get respect because you're a teacher. Don't think you're getting in front of that classroom and you deserve respect. No, you don't. You earn that stuff, because what I'm going to tell you right now is there's some of those kids, even in grade 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, I don't care, in a classroom somewhere that have more life experience than you do as an educator. And that could be a good thing, or that's an unfortunate thing, because you've had students who had to sleep on park benches. They use the breakfast club program because they have to. They come in early and take showers before a PE class because they don't even have PE that semester, because that's the only place they can take a shower. They're going through stuff you have no clue, and they have more life experience. So like it or not, in my personal opinion, again, you need to earn that respect, and you need to get a feel for your room, and it's not your way or the highway. Again, just my opinion, there's ways of doing things. 100%. Get a feel for your room. I don't even know if we're talking about accountability anymore, but you got me fired up with some of that stuff. But it's true. Get a feel for your room and those students, because just to say, oh, he or she's only 14 or 15, you don't know what they've lived through, what they're currently going through. You have no idea unless you've you're just scratching the surface. If you look at somebody in the eye and vice versa, you get a feel for people, man.
Stop teaching your subject. Start teaching your students. Stop coaching your sport. Start coaching your athletes.
What do you remember about school? Should I let you answer?
No, you know what? I actually say high school for me wasn't listen, I wasn't popular. I always say I married the first girl that paid any attention to me.
That was a real thing.
It was a real thing. And for me, high school I had good marks, even though my kids laughed, because back then you actually had to work for your grades. Although my kids saw my transcripts, they're like, Dad, you said you were a good student. And I was like, yeah, back then, like, and I know there's a lot of parents right now. They're like, I said, my 83, 85 is like you're 96 now. Yeah. Okay. So let's just say that. So yes, parents, there's the accountability thing, but I had good grades. I played all the sports. I hung out with the nerds. I hung out with the long hair. I used to wear a Kiss t-shirt. Like I had a mullet. Like I didn't really fit in high school. I fit in everywhere.
That was actually normal in high school at your time. But anyways, keep going.
Yeah,
that was trendy.
Exactly. But to me, I don't remember a grade 12 math lesson. I don't remember that. Right. And to me, I remember being in a class, and I remember the people that cared about me. I remember the teachers like that gave me the time of day.
Sorry, I'm going to pause there for a second, because that's where I wanted to go. Do you remember how people treated you? Do you remember that?
That's it. Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Absolutely. So those were, and it's funny because, my friend Scott Missett, who was here, he was saying like how he remembered me, and he said he had teachers all along. I used to go watch my other kids play sports. I used to love taking my kids to go, like when they were babies, we'd be like, oh, Scott's playing hockey game and tonight, let's go watch him play. I used to, like, I had Amanda was a girl that I used to teach and train, and I said, like, she's playing soccer tonight, let's go watch her play soccer. Like, we take them and go watch these kids do great things. And these kids, they would chew through concrete because they know that we care on another level, because I'm going to take the time out of my day to go watch. I thought it was really, really cool. Right. Like it's, I don't know. The way it was for us. I had teachers in high school that used to come and watch me play baseball in the summertime. I was like, what are you doing here? Like Mr. Smith, Mr. Monyu, they'd come out, and I remember them watching me play a ball game. And well, now they had a couple of students that were playing, but they would come out in the summertime with their shorts, and it's kind of weird seeing them in like tank tops and shorts with your phys ed teacher, but they're human beings. And to me, I'm going to pay that forward, and I'll never forget that, because they came out and watched me and supported me in something that I love doing. And I was like, well, I'm going to do that. So I try to do that as much as I can.
Apologize for laughing earlier. It was just when you say chewing through concrete, I can never take you serious when you say that. I love it, but I just can't take you serious.
Think of the analogy. Like I say, like to me, the best teammates are the ones that you're going to be willing to chew through concrete for your teammate, whether like just for the team, the better the team. Like it's a strong analogy, but that's if you want to be the best, that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
And we, to go back, I guess, towards accountability. Again, Mark talked about the mirror, the sticky notes, those ideas. And the other one is like, we talked about each other having ourselves as an accountability partner. And I were like saying is when you want to go 6 a.m. lift somewhere, and then you push the button, like the snooze button, and you're just like, I don't feel like doing it today. Or on the flip side, I got to pick up Mark to bring him to the gym. And I got to call Mark and say, hey, man, I'm not feeling it today. What's he saying when he's jacked up and ready to go? So it's easier to give up on yourself. It's a lot harder to give up on somebody else.
Speaking of accountability, so the story was just reminding me of following up on something. So I had the student was not necessarily a wonderful human being. And one day I'm shopping, and I'm at the Nike outlet, and I go to pay a credit card, and the manager looks at it. It was the manager that was helping me, and Mark Messier, dude, you wrote a reference letter for a kid that stole a bunch of stuff from us, and we had to fire them. And I was like, well, who's the kid? And they named the kid, and I was like, you, buddy, I would have wrote a letter that told you this person is a criminal and to never hire them. Did you call me? So this manager just read the letter and didn't follow up with a phone call. Here's a pro tip for people that are hiring. You might want to call references, right? Like this kid had falsified. It was good. He showed me the letter. Like they kept it because it was like evidence of some kind. And this guy was mad at me. I was like, dude, I would have never wrote this reference letter for this kid. So anyways, it was interesting. So I think the manager was like, yeah, I should have called. So, but
that's a great story.
Accountability to me is something like, again, how do you want to define it? Mold it. It's not like, don't create it, mold it through definable parameters, right? So like, again, we're going to take care of this. We're going to be on time. We're going to make our beds in the morning. It needs to be molded into the parameters that dictate what needs to be done, right? So you're setting a standard, and then every year try to improve on that standard a little bit. And then again, don't forget about trying to launch and go land on Mars when you're not even growing potatoes here on Earth. You know what I'm saying? So people sometimes they get so far ahead, but we're not taking care of what's directly in front of us, right? So that accountability thing is huge.
The analogy I like the potatoes on Mars, man. You come up with some good stuff. I think about the stuff with credit cards. That's why we love our credit cards. Is we want everything now, but we don't want to pay for it. You know what I mean? I don't want to save up to buy something. I want to pay with my credit card. I'll pay interest forever.
Yeah.
It makes no sense, man. Literally makes guilty. Credit card, not good.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to use the analogy in the setup of we got to pay the price now. You got to pay the price now for the success down the road.
Totally. And a lot of people don't want to pay that price because it's hard. It's not cool.
Play the long game. Play the long game. I'm starting to see a little bit of the planted seeds and they're starting to grow. It sucked gardening. I'm going to use gardening as an example. It sucked gardening. It sucked planting those seeds. Hopefully people are following the analogy I'm using here because I'm really trying to get on this one. It sucked going out in the morning and watering it. It sucked turning over the soil. It's, sucked not seeing anything happen. It's all that stuff. Birds coming in to take some of the seeds away, like all that stuff. It sucks. But now you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road and you're like, wow. It was worth to me. It's worth it. It sucked at the time, and you're going to go through some adversity through that whole process. But play the long game with this stuff. With accountability, play the long game. And I said this in a past episode with the push-ups. Day 1 I did 1. Day 2 I did 2, and I think I'm at 86 today. Wow. I think it is. But I could have banged out a bunch at the beginning. That's not the point. I'm trying to prepare myself for when the extinguisher's got to be pulled down the road. For me, I have to build up to that. It's not something I'm going to get instantly. I have to build up to that because it sucks being consistent. Yeah. Well, there you go. It sucks being consistent because it gets boring. But that's part of being accountable.
But I think that's part of, and I think it was Stubby that told us embrace the boring.
Yeah.
Right. So, and when we talked to Stubby Clapp, it was embrace the monotonous day-to-day tasks, like making your bed. That stuff will make you better. They'll make your team better. Like, how does making your bed equate to being a better teammate? Accountability, trust. If you're accountable, people will trust you.
Yeah.
And
say you're going to do something, do it.
This is a sports podcast, but we never talked about it once in this about being, all like your X's and O's and you're a very skilled player, right? Yeah. Because none of that matters if you're a turd.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or a duster. I like the term duster. If you're a duster,
shoebox,
nothing else matters if you're a duster and you're not a good teammate. And it just bugs me. And I think what bugs me is, I don't know why I'm feeling very passionate about this today, but when I see young kids and the parents are supporting it, do you know what I mean? That is one that that's a tough one for coaches, but I think that's where coaches, it's hard, but you have to have courageous conversations and be honest with a parent to say your kid is not being a good teammate.
I like using, and I hope I'm saying the right name, Evander Kane. He's the one that bounced. Has been like 4 or 5 teams now.
Yeah.
He started with Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Evander Kane. Am I modeling my kid after that? Like if you're bouncing around that many teams, there's a problem somewhere. There's a problem somewhere.
Yeah. And again, like it's one of the, look at Emma. We talked about Emma Maltez. She just won a gold medal in the Olympics. She was, she was open and honest in our show talking about how she had a poor review about how her so-called attitude was. Well, look at her now. And now you look at the way her teammates, she scored her first Olympic goal the other night. You look how her teammates celebrated. It was unreal. So, she's obviously flipped that. It's changeable. You can control that. Yeah. But I think it's one of those things where get on it early. And as coaches and leaders, you have to be courageous enough to tell people parents and the kids be like, we need you to be a better teammate. You don't have to say, hey, you're a jerk, you're a duster, but you have that conversation, say, you might be a good, I'm going to mimic a conversation. So say, it's Caleb or Gabriel with you and say, hey, Jean-Gilles and Nicole, like, we need to have a conversation. I like seeing some good things on the field or whatever your kids are doing. However, this is something that I think will serve you and him well in the coming years as he's developing to be a better teammate. And this is something I'd like to see you work on. And then if they don't do it, well, then you'll be like, you're going to have to move on. You're going to have to move on. And that's the way it is. You have to set parameters, definable parameters, controllable things, and then you celebrate it. So when that kid celebrates his teammate or does something really, really good, then you'd be like, man, that's awesome. Appreciate that.
It's funny you say that because report cards just came out, and the first part in the elementary school here anyways, not necessarily your learning skills. I'm not even saying that right. Not necessarily your grades at the beginning, just how you're doing in class, how you're reacting, how all that stuff is at the beginning, and then kind of like the subjects and the grade. We probably spent 20 minutes on what people call the soft stuff and kind of hammered through the other stuff, because they're all controllable. Don't get me wrong, but this stuff at the top for me, because that looks like what's a good teammate, what's a good classmate, what's a good student look like. The rest will fall into place if you can take care of, people kind of just brush through what's my grade. How are you as a person? You know what I mean? If you can figure it out as a person, the grades will come, man, because people want to go chew through concrete for you and be able to help you. Like it or not, teachers can be like that. Man, this kid puts such forth an effort. It's not clicking. And they're willing to go the distance with you. 9 out of 10 teachers will go the distance for you if you're willing to put in the work. But if you're just not cutting it, let's just say, some will, some won't, but I don't think it's going to be 9 out of 10 people. That's just my opinion.
Well, and doesn't this apply in the real world, like business world? Forget about sports for a second, but if you're going to work and you're not treating your colleagues properly, isn't it the same thing? There's an accountability there. And again, define what it is you want it to be. Define your role. If I define your role as a teammate, you understand it, and just say, okay, here's what you need to do. You're going to cheer for your teammate. If you're not on the floor or on the ice, you're going to be a good teammate. You're not going to sit there and sulk. You're not going to blame, complain, defend. You're going to have that ERO. You're going to have that. So these are all things that are super important, and you can apply this in a factory job, an office job. It's doable. Like, it is so doable. And what a huge difference it will make, short-term and long-term, when you clean up that culture. People want to come to work. I want to go see you. I want to get on this call with you because I know we're going to hold each other accountable. We're going to hold each other to a higher standard. I look forward to seeing you. Right? Like, I love it.
I'm going back to, and I like seeing you too. I'd like for us to have if we could have them on podcast. I just can't understand and wrap my head around some of the businesses that it's like cutthroat. Like, if you don't meet these things, like, you're toast. I'm sure some people need to be let go. I get it, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around what kind of culture that must be. If I'm trying to cut your throat, you're trying to cut my throat to be able to get to the top. Like, I don't know. I don't understand what that looks like, to be honest with you. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's bad. I don't know. I haven't necessarily lived in that world. And it's funny because we think maybe sports is the same thing. I just saw this recently. Burrows, is that the quarterback for Joe Burrow? I saw something. He introduced himself during the game to one of the players from the Rams. Hey man, how's it going? Finally get to meet you during the game, man, the Super Bowl. You're trying to tell me this thing isn't about people? You know what I mean? I think he's trying to cut it. Yeah, I'm trying to win. So you're trying to win. It's just like people say, like, I'm going to pray before the game. Here's an example. Yeah. Religious. Yes. Catholic. Yeah. I pray before the game. The other team prays before the game. I think God picks sides. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're all trying to do our best here. We're all on the same planet. Just be good people, please.
And if you're not
good people,
and if you're not a good person, knock it off. That's just knock it off. I have no tolerance for bullying. Here's the other one too that bugs me is when people walk by challenging situations in a hallway. So somebody's, I have no problem saying, hey man, this is not going to be tolerated here. It's you put a stop to it right away. And I think I've seen colleagues walk by. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that.
That's not just college. That's like literally I've watched things on that, and it's like people don't want to get their hands dirty. Like you could, I've seen things they like pretend they're having a heart attack in the mall, example. And you know how many people walk by and don't do anything?
Isn't that a TV show like on ABC? I love that
show.
Exactly. It drives me crazy.
But the other part too, and it's just how people are, and it's not for everybody. But also when you think about it, when we get, we do CPR training with our students and, AD training. And isn't that crazy now that I think about it? Because we're talking out loud and I get to learn more. Because when we talk out loud, it's not just in my head. One of our things to take care of is the crowd, to get people away. Let that sink in. We, in our training, are told how to control crowds.
Yeah.
Because that's what people want to do. They want to sit there and watch somebody having a heart attack or choking. They don't want to do anything about it. They just want to watch.
They're going to film it and it'll be on TikTok or TikTok the next day or whatever it is.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, here's one. And it's funny because I had this on, and by the way, I had a whole bunch of stuff on paper that I wanted. It's all gone. I don't know. It's like, it's all over the place.
I read it.
Yeah. JG did his homework because he's accountable. And it's funny you say that because you're like, hey, make sure you look through the notes. And in my head, I'm thinking, he spent a lot of time on that. I need to know, no, but it's true, man. He put a lot of time and effort into this stuff. I need to know what's going on, like for the conversation piece. But more than anything, I was scared to disappoint you, to be honest with you, because in a sense of like, I'll go back to it. You put a lot of time into it and I need to respect that. I don't know how else I'm trying to word that, but I need to be able to respect you put the time and it's just like, okay, thanks for spending 45 minutes out of the day doing that, but it's irrelevant in mine. Yeah. But I trust you. That's the other thing is that there's trust, right? And we would be great teammates. And you think about this. So we're both catchers, right? If we were on the same team, what kind of relationship do you think we would have platooning? Right?
I'd be just as happy you playing and then trying to help. I know for a fact, so hey, we should think about this next time.
We should ask Ed Jordan and say, who would be the starter?
Defensively, definitely you be. If we were looking at defense,
you're the big stick. Yeah,
I'm a DH. I'm a DH, and you'll play D.
But you're the lefty, and I'm the righty. So there you go.
Yeah. Maybe matchups. He might want to go matchups. Exactly.
So back to what you're saying about the first aid thing. Here's one, and not KOA. K minus A equals 0.
Do tell.
Knowledge minus action equals nothing. So you have the knowledge to do something. In my opinion, you have the responsibility to do it. Mm-hmm. K plus A equals C. Knowledge plus action equals change. Everybody knows what makes a team better. It's no secret. What we're saying here is not like, it hasn't been come down and chiseled on a tablet on the mountain, right? And be like from the heavens. This is common knowledge. This isn't even our own stuff, but it's just stuff that we've experienced that make things better.
Someone send us the stat.
Why aren't we doing it?
Someone send us the stat. Sorry, I keep doing like this because my mic's this way. So actually this is my better side, people.
I was going to say, it looks good.
It reminded me of a story I don't want to tell right now. So what was I talking about?
Somebody sent you a stat.
No, send us a stat. I want to know the stat. How many people actually they'll read a book or it's seminars. They go to a seminar and actually do the stuff in the seminar. I want to know the percentage. 100 people pay Tony Robbins. They pay example $10,000, maybe, I don't know, man, 1,000 people go pay $10,000 to go. How many people leave that show after paying that much money and actually do the things he says? 10 people, do you think? Mm-hmm. All the knowledge is literally sitting there, and I'm guilty as charged. Like I'm prepping for the show today, and I'm right accountability and all these things that I have for accountability. I'm like, holy smokes. Oh, that's a good one. That's a great video. Did I put that in play? Not yet. That's the key word for me right now. Not yet. Yeah. Like we have all of this knowledge in front of us and we literally do nothing about it. And accountability, like you said, to start off the show you wrote that in your notes because I remember now. You said it was like the glue, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. It's glue.
So hold yourself accountable and use the things that either we're saying, someone else has told you, something you've read, something your parents might have told you, eat more vegetables and fruits or whatever, but do it. Just do it. Nike, I apologize. You guys did a great job. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. This is something that I don't want to pontificate, but I think it's just something that bugs me. I like to be, I had a fellow coach tell me one day, there's a big thing going on, and it was a student it was a challenging situation for a student. And after dealing with it, this coach who I have tremendous respect for said, he says, you don't like go toward, we talk about going over obstacles. He says, you run at situations like this. I was like, yeah, because it needs to be dealt with quick, swiftly, efficient. That means like, I'm not talking about coming in heavy handed, but if you allow this to kind of start, and some coaches, again, maybe they're not equipped to deal with it. Again, Mark 1.0, 2.0, maybe 3.0, I might have not dealt with these types of poor culture things on a team really well back then. Now I realize how much they can affect something. If a kid's not treating his teammates, I've sent kids home from practice before. Say like, you've lost the privilege of being here with us today. Coaches do not be scared to do, like, again, the kid is not the problem. The problem is the problem. But if you cannot resolve the problem in that moment, send the kid home from practice and be like, let's talk, let's regroup. We're going to regroup. But right now you're affecting 50 other guys, and this cannot continue. Right. So I had a guy, he used to, like, in football practice, would like destroy his own teammates just to build himself up. But that's not something you do in a football practice. There's a time and a place for that. And he just couldn't get it. I had sent him home from practice and be like, you need to leave here right now, because the rest of your team wants to like kill you. And then we'll work through the problem. And we did. We ended up, and it took a while. It was bamboo, man. It was bamboo. And it's going to be something that there's just small improvements along the way.
Question is, was it deeper than football?
Oh, it had nothing to do with football. It had nothing to do with football.
You would not know that if you do not have the conversation.
And I knew it had nothing to do with football. And that kid needed this. Again, here you find yourself in a difficult situation where some people say this team needed the kid needed the team more than the team needed the kid.
I use that a lot.
Right. But at the end of the day, that kid needs to be accountable, and the kid needs to know that they're a valid contributor to that team and that program. And again, we were on a call with, we were doing a seminar this winter, you and I, and one of the coaches, I think from South Carolina, it was a baseball coach. And he said he had his best player was not buying in. Right. And the root thing is find out why he's not buying in. What's going on behind baseball that's not causing him to buy in. Right. So it's you as an educator, as a coach, you're going to get your hands dirty on this. You're mining and refining, right? They're elements. They're kids, they're athletes. And even as adults, we're carrying in a lot of baggage with us. Did I just have an argument with my wife? Right. So dig deep. You got to dig deep. If you want to be truly successful as a human being, as a leader, you're going to have to drill deep into each of your elements and your people.
And hold yourself accountable. Does that feel good?
Man, I don't know why I feel so much better. I just had to get this off my chest because and I've been waiting for us to do this show because I've been watching, see a lot of things that's going on. And, you watch a lot of sports and I think this is one of those things is why can't we do this better? And again, why can't we do this better in society?
We have a thing we do with our teams. One of the teams I have anyway, we do what's called Voyager Jacks. So we spell out VEES V's, but at the end, so they're synchronized jumping jacks. And at the end, the person who leads them, and for us, the person who leads them could have been the person who performed, worked hard in practice. They should all work hard, but just something. And we talk amongst the staff, like, hey, who do you think should get? And please don't even think for a second it's the person who went 3 for 3, or we look for effort. Literally, that's what we're hunting for is effort, because that's what we reward is effort, because that's a controllable. Can't control how many hits you get in a game, how many strikeouts you get, but you can control your effort. Anyway, so that person will lead them. When they're done the jumping jacks, they turn around and say accountability. And now it's the job for the rest of the players behind to make sure they were in sync with each other. And if you were not in sync with people, you put your hand up and we restart.
Oh,
you can't even imagine how many times this took us at the beginning. And it took us time. And it was tough because I needed to hold them accountable because I knew someone was out of sync and they wouldn't say it. And the team was like, okay, no, but I said, no. I saw you. So I held them accountable for a while. That's how it was. And now they hold each other accountable I watch to make sure they're still doing it. I don't just walk away. And they hold each other accountable. And you're going to have to do it 10, 15 times. And what I try and tell the athletes at the same time is like, sorry, I was speaking further away from the mic there. My bad. It's okay.
Okay, you're fired up.
It's literally okay to say you did something wrong. 100% okay. And they're like, hey, I messed up. And now, like, not to do it that they're proud, but they're like right away for the most part.
Accept failure and move on.
That's it. And that's what I said. I said, and I asked him, I said, hey, Billy, are you upset that Tom? Nope. Are you? Nope. And then one guy's like, I'll do it till we all figure it out. And the other guy buys into that concept. It just is what it is. Don't feel bad. You messed up. It's part of life. Let's move on together.
Remember,
try that.
What is it? You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present.
Yeah. Don't be perfect. Yeah. Present. Yeah.
Yeah. And perfect is often fake. Right?
Yeah. Often, probably 9 out of 10 times.
One of the things that, again, let's end on this because we'll sit here till 3 days from now and still be going. And our listeners will be like, are these guys still going on?
Yeah. Well, I got a request. Actually, someone's driving from California to New York and they would like for us to do a marathon.
Okay. We should do a live show one day, just like that, and bring everybody in. So I was thinking about certain things and I love the idea of so we talked about the individual ourselves and then how to hold other people accountable. I think one of the good ways of doing that is we use 3 words: well, better, how. So question is, what did you do well? Say today. We could do this at the end of practice. What can you do better? How are you going to do it better? Right? Well, better, how. 3 very simple words. Parents, this could be a parenting thing for you. At the end of the night, it's, sometimes kids don't want to talk. How's school today? Great. Okay. Great 3-word conversation. Hey, JG, what did you do well today? So we go, oh, okay. Well, what did I do well? I looked at my French teacher and said, thank you very much. What can you do better? Oh, well, I didn't eat my whole sandwich. Whatever it is. I don't know. That's a terrible example.
It's okay, man. No, but hey,
but you know what I mean?
To deal with. Doesn't have to be crazy.
Yeah. Like, what did you, what can you do better? And how are you going to do it better? Right. Oh, maybe I should really put a little bit extra time to clean up after myself leaving practice. I don't know. You can better how. When I say it doesn't have to be crazy, because you're going to have to understand this could be awkward at the beginning in a conversation if you're not used to it. It could be, this is a waste of my time. You have to start somewhere. Literally, man, you have to start somewhere. So have these conversations. If it's about a sandwich, then it's about a sandwich, because it's going to start being about a sandwich on the first day. And by the second month, you're actually getting something out of your athlete, your son, your daughter, your spouse, whatever it is. You're actually going to get legitimate things, but you have to start somewhere. Don't think this is going to be, I asked this question and then fireworks came out. That's not how this is going to work. You got to grind this out. It's a great like that, that awkward moment when the kid gets into the car after a game and you're like, oh, good job. And they were horrible. Want
to go Dairy Queen?
Didn't you have a parent reach out to you and say that you were in their head about paying kids for stuff and they didn't want to take their kids to Tim Hortons for donuts or something?
Yeah. Like that? Oh yeah. But, that's exactly what he said. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those ones where it's a great conversation in the car. Like, hey, like it's neutral. You put it on them, not like, some kids are going home and they're getting just fed on the way home and they despise that car ride home with mom or dad because it's anxiety producing for them because they know that they're going to get grilled on everything that happened that day. We'll be the better parent and be the one that says, hey, that was great. What did you do well? What can you do better? And how are you going to do it? And then that's it. Let the kid talk. At the end of the day, you're not going to be there forever for them. So it's a universal approach, right?
For me, I'll leave on this one. My wife taught me this one. She taught me a lot of great things, but one of them was when our kids are performing on something or they're going to practice, and I try and implement it now. I think I'm doing a better job. And I just say to her, we have sons. So whatever they're going into is like, hey man, I love watching you practice. I love watching you play.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm just leaving it at that. I just love watching. All the other stuff is the stuff, but I just love watching you compete, loving you
perform,
whatever it is, man, perform. Yeah. Whatever it is, that's what we enjoy as parents is that.
It's
if
rewarding.
We can maybe sometimes just hold on to that a little bit longer, because it's not judging our kids. It's just like, we love watching them. We want them to succeed. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's more than, I don't know. It's more than that. I can go way too in depth with that one, but I just wanted to end with that one. Just love watching them. Just be present with your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's cool to watch them do things. Yeah. Amazing.
That's a whole other show. It is another show. And we'll probably dive into that. I want to do a parent. I'm saying it now. I want to do parenting your kid episode.
As an athlete or just parenting your kid? Period.
As an athlete. Yes. My apologies. Yeah. Coaching. There you go. I should have said that better. Parenting.
It's interesting because
coaching your own son or daughter.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I mean.
That's a whole show to itself. That's what I mean. I'd like for us to kind of dig into that because it's just,
we should have our kids in the show with us.
Oh boy.
We should have that with our between the two of us of 4 kids and what coaching them was like. Yeah. And it was interesting because
you can edit though, right? You can still edit.
I'd have to promise it would be unfiltered, but it's funny because I coach Paige in soccer and she is just such the nicest person and worked hard, but soccer wasn't her thing. And it was just like, she was like, probably didn't like me as a coach. So I would be interesting to see, again, I didn't know soccer, but I just remember Paige would stand there with her hands like behind her back. And I'm like, Paige, at least look interested. Right. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it wasn't her thing. She found her thing. And I think as a parent, that's what we found what she was interested in doing. Yes. And that was the key. And then she flourished, man. That was awesome. Yeah. So, I like it. We got a couple ideas for some more shows. It's good. Yeah. But again, we're not parenting experts, but the idea is you've seen enough. I've seen what doesn't work. And I've been teaching for 23 years. I've seen parents, like thousands and thousands of parenting models. Some work, some don't. And sometimes the kids work out despite the parents. Right. Yeah. And that's the one that, anyways, that's again, we're getting off topic.
Yeah. Here. I was just about to go like,
I'm sorry.
Like, nope.
I'm sorry. So
throw it away.
Listeners, here's what we want you to do today. Of course, we want you to always have a takeaway on and a little assignment for you to do. Either start an accountability mirror, number one, and or find an accountability partner. Okay. And I think that's something that is, that's the biggest thing right now. And on top of that, list 3 things. Okay. So start off with 3 things that you want to be accountable for to yourself or hold your partner accountable for. Agree. What is it that you're going to be needing to do to be better? And again, it goes back to that first question I asked at the beginning of the show. What is it that I need to be more productive, to be a better contributor, whatever that is, and one to yourself. So accountability partner, accountability mirror. Between you and your partner, pick 3 things, and for yourself, pick 3 things. Okay. So that is going to be your homework for this episode.
Where can listeners pick up lipstick and soap?
You're going to bust me up on that.
I was just about to say, I'm never letting you live.
So when we have our first in studio session, I'm going to be
thinking the same thing. I was just
I know what you're going to do. You're going to bring, I'll have I swear to God, I'll go and I'll get whiteboard markers or dry erase.
I'm picturing markers. Going into your weight room and you're doing this.
And this thing, the tip's all destroyed. Oh, it's just a disaster.
Oh man, love it.
My wife is embarrassed. She's gonna be embarrassed right now. She's like, "Oh, people think now that like we don't have markers in the house or something like that." I'm like, it's just a mark. But it's funny as a hockey coach. It's like you're drawing on the board all the time. And I had one year, my team as a gift, they gave me a bunch of markers, and they were sweet. They were color coded.
Sick.
That was sick. Anyways, so I don't know where I think I used those all up.
Yeah.
So anyways. Yeah, so that's what your homework is for the week is accountability partner, accountability mirror. Thanks for putting up with our everywhere conversation today. And I'm sure we're going to have some comments that we're not happy about, raising your kids, but let's all do a better job. We're all going to do a better job. Better today than yesterday, better tomorrow than today. Well, that does it for this episode of Benchmarked. Thanks for listening. Until next time.
Keep crushing it.